And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Chelsea Speaks.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm your lovely co-host, Kiara. I'm here with Kaylee.
Hello.
And myself, Tomas, of course. Yes. So today, we're gonna approach another theme. So let's tell us a little bit.
Okay, so hi, my name is Kaylee Bonilla. I'm a peer mentor here at Youth Elemento. I'm first generation. My family is from El Salvador. I'm an only child, and here today I'm going to be speaking about my story and my experience with bullying and cyberbullying, how I lived through it alone, and how I found ways to cope.
All right, tell us why it's so important to share the theme on bullying and cyberbullying.
Of course. So I think it's important to talk about my story, my experience with bullying and cyberbullying, because it affected me in my health a lot, especially my mental state, my physical state. And social media has an impact, a big influence on how I felt. And because I was so young, I didn't know what to do. And I feel like now in this generation, it's still a large influence of social media going on.
No, for sure.
And it's just important to know what's going on, to be aware of it, and if it's happening, how to cope with it, and also just find ways to find the support.
No,
of course.
Certainly. Can you get started? Tell us about your story.
Yeah, so I started having my first experience with bullying in elementary school.
Wow, that's really young.
Very young.
Yeah.
And entering middle school, it was still an ongoing of bullying, but that's also when the cyberbullying began. So I experienced bullying and cyberbullying within the ages of 7 until the age of 12. Yeah.
Wow. That's like, back to what I was saying about being so young. Were you even aware it was bullying?
So, no. In elementary school, I was super young. I didn't know what bullying was, how to define it, what the term was. Yeah. But I knew it was going into bullying because of the way that I felt. Mm-hmm. Again, super young. It made me feel like I was the problem again. And if to be honest, I was very small. I was a chubby little girl. And I was different. So it made me feel very low about it. In middle school, again, it impacted me worse. It impacted my mental health. And once it started impacting my mental health, it impacted everything else. So that's when the low self-esteem started. I honestly, truly, I didn't love myself for years, and that's when it began. And it was really hard.
I mean, it's only valid when you're being torn down, you also come down.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned it that you felt singled out, right?
Yeah.
But why do you think you was the target?
So I felt like I honestly was the target because me in general as a person, I'm super quiet. I'm super shy. That's just me.
Oh, we know. You hit the awkward smile
yes.
every time I see
every
you.
single time. I'm very awkward. But because I was so young, I feel like these characteristics, they were magnified. Yeah. So it was easy for me to get picked on. It was easy for me to be very low.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But while you went going through all this, do you tell anybody?
No. So in school, it was hard for me to ask. Again, in elementary school, I didn't ask for help because I was too young. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew how I felt.
Were
so
you just like, these kids are just being mean, it's going to pass?
Yes. So that's kind of what my process was. But that's how it was. In middle school, actually, it was honestly even harder to ask or who to ask for help. I would say that middle school is probably one of the hardest experiences and years that you can live through, just because middle school, there's no control. If something happens, teachers aren't really aware of it, or they just be like, okay, it's whatever.
Yeah,
there's nothing going on. And I felt like if I had to ask for help, or if I did ask for help, I felt like it was going to come back to me. They were going to pick me again. They were going to make it even worse. They're going to hurt me. And I was just honestly scared. When it came to my parents at the time, when I was dealing with that, it was a lot of stuff going on at home. And if I had asked, again, I'm an only child, so I felt like I had certain needs that I needed to meet. And if I feel like if I had asked or told them what was going on, I felt like I would have been a burden to my family. So
that makes sense. I
learned how to live through it alone and find ways to cope alone. And this is how I started growing up. This is how I
talk. First off, I want to say that I can only imagine how hard it was, because I've said this before to multiple people. I'm like, little kids can be mean. I mean, they can be cute, but they can also be mean. As well, it's not something that's very easy to go on in life and just kind of accept, especially when you're struggling. You know, you're entering a preteen kind of era where you're just like, hormones are acting up and there's so much. So it was only valid for you to want to be alone. And talking about coping, how did you possibly cope with it?
So at the time when I was super young, again, coping really wasn't, to me at least, I didn't know what coping was at that age,
Yeah.
especially with bullying happening. So what I did to cope was honestly just forget how I felt. I ignored how I felt because once I finished middle school and I was entering high school, I said, this is my time to flip the switch and not care about how I felt, not care about the emotions that I was feeling, and just live through life without actually being aware of that. And by doing that, what I did was try to keep as busy as I could possibly be. In high school, I was doing a lot of different activities. I was trying to do sports. I was in AP classes. I was doing tons of different clubs. I also
Keeping your mind busy.
keeping my mind busy. I also found my first job in high school just to when I was done with school, or sometimes I would leave early from school just to go to work. And just keeping my mind busy the whole entire day, because I felt like if I went home, it would be a space for me to go back to my emotions.
It was time for you to isolate your thoughts if you were home.
Yeah, and that's when like the silence echoes, you know? When I'm home, the silence is what kills my brain, because that's when I start thinking about everything that I'm going through, and I didn't want to do that. I really didn't, so I try to keep as busy as I could.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But also I want to mention it that something that I noticed from you is, and that we have right now, if you guys see different, is the art. And I know it's one of your things that's part of your coping, right?
Yeah.
Like keeping yourself busy, drawing all this stuff.
Yeah.
So let's look a little bit of this stuff that she does.
That's
Girl,
one of
if
my
you don't
favorite
mind, show it
pieces.
to
We have
them.
this one too.
Yeah, also, you guys take a look. And also, it's a really beautiful things I see about you and watch all this art that you put it on. Also, your feelings. I've been noticed that like you put a lot of like feeling on it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you,
I think
Thomas. I
it's-
appreciate it.
no, I really like
Yeah,
it.
lo
Lo
It's
agradezco mucho.
Yes.
no hay de que, pero sí, es algo que me gusta mucho que apliques a través de como tu proceso, ¿sabes?
Sí,
Y
sí.
supongo que es algo que es del día a día.
I think we all cope here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you do it with music.
She do it through art.
I also do it through art, but I also do it through sports.
Sports,
Yeah.
Which
exactly.
you also played.
Yep.
So no, and I just want to share the people that is a lot of ways. Like for example, the one that you've been doing, like art and all this beautiful like pieces of art. I really like.
It's important to know what helps for you. Again, what worked for me may not work for you, but it's important to find that coping mechanism that may work for you, because there's a tons of things that you can find, whether if it's sports, whether if it's art, plays, clubs, different recreational activities. You can find something that's gonna help you.
So, talking about these coping strategies, or in general advice, what would you give somebody who's going through this right now?
And if you feel like you're alone, or if you feel like you don't know how to ask for help, or who to ask for help, you can find these coping skills, these supports that can help you in high school. Again, for me, it was what worked for me was softball and art. And going back to it again, just because softball and art worked for me, it may not work for you, but there's tons of different things that you can do in school, a ton of different recreational activities, clubs, sports, everything. In high school, I joined softball. I wanted to do sports because it was for the wrong reasons. Again, because I feel like with the cyberbullying, it built anger in me. And with me playing softball, it allowed me to kind of let that anger out, because we did tons of practices, we did games, and it was just a way for me to kind of get that anger out. Little by little, softball did become something that I've truly enjoyed, and it allowed me to kind of let that anger out, but in a positive way. And the same thing with art. When I was dealing with bullying and cyberbullying, I kind of lost my passion for art, but because I joined AP art in high school, it allowed me to get that passion back. And again, I joined for the wrong reasons, but I ended up finding the light in the tunnel that helped me, like guide me to get back to where I needed to be.
So now that you mentioned all these themes, so now you are here, you're a peer mentor. So how would you use this experience to work with young adults today?
So I think it was important to me to experience what I did, because it allowed me to see what worked and what didn't work. Again, I was super young. I didn't know what to do. But now that I'm looking back at what I dealt with, I know what I could have done if I were to go back into time, like back travel back, I know what to do, you know? But I feel like with being a peer mentor now, I'm able to just support young adults who feel the same feelings that I did. It doesn't have to be the same story, but I feel like the feelings is where we connect and where we relate, because the feeling of living through silence, living in that silence, feeling alone, these emotions, these feelings, I feel like a lot of young adults tend to feel. And again, it may not be the same story, but it's the same feeling. And I feel like I'm able to support in that, be able to communicate and find those connections. But I'm able to also find those resources, find coping skills, find what you guys truly enjoy. That way I can support you to find those coping skills. And with all that I've experienced, I feel like I can pinpoint how to individually help young adults.
No, I'm just really happy that you're going like you learn all this stuff and you can apply it to all those people here around in Youth Elemento.
Yeah, of course.
I was gonna ask you any last comments or anything you wanted to mention.
Yes. So again, being a peer mentor, I truly enjoy it, and with my experience, I'm able to share it, but also just relate to everyone else. But I'm also just being able to incorporate my art and do these groups here with you guys and do different art skills and groups. And speaking of that, we also did this big piece over here with Kiara.
It was my first big piece.
And I was super happy and excited how it came out. But this is just the beginning. Yeah. I want to say that we want to incorporate more art, and if there's other things that we can do a ton of different more. My last thing is that I'm super grateful to share a piece and a part of my story. And I say it's a part because my journey is an ongoing journey. I'm still learning how to love myself. I'm still learning how to take care of myself. I'm still learning how to find my self-worth. And I've learned that it's okay to have those bad days, because you'll get to that positive.
We all have them.
Yes. And I feel like it's important to know that. I wouldn't be here where I am today if it wasn't for all the closed doors, everything that happened to me, all the lost opportunities. I wouldn't be here for that. And I wouldn't be the person who I am today if it wasn't for my experience, what I dealt with, and living through it alone. It made me learn a lot. Yeah. And I feel like it's going to help me become a better person. It's going to help me be who I am today. But yeah, I'm super grateful to share part of my story with you guys. Excited to be here.
No, and thank you so much for sharing, honestly.
Thank you for your time. You did an amazing job.
I feel like you guys did an amazing job. We did this together.
You continue to do an amazing job. Also, you're a great art teacher, because, like, I wish I brought my piece here today, but I made something. I think it only took me a day to learn what you taught me, but you did a great job, and I'm so happy to be here in Youth because of you guys and constantly being encouraged. So.
Yes.
No, and also I'm really glad that you feel grateful about all this experience you've been through, and also that you feel like hopeful. And also I think like that's what made you like the person you are right now, and I think it's really inspiring for everyone who's watching right now. I think everyone can relate. So soon we're gonna have some experts, and they will explain more about what is bullying, what is cyberbullying. They're gonna give us their experience. Also they're gonna talk about
recreational activities
that is related with the cope that we was talking about. And so stay tuned, and we'll give a lot of information about this that will be useful for every single one of you guys who's watching this.
All right, we'll see you soon.
See you. Bye. Thank you.
Back from break. Today we have our expert here, Jason from Cambridge Health, for being here.
Of course. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
All right, great. Can you share with us what you do and a lot more about your agency?
Oh, of course. So my name is Jason, originally from Boston, Dorchester to be exact. I am now the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Sexual and Reproductive Health Program at Cambridge Health Alliance. So I do a lot of teaching, and I do a lot of networking, making connections with organizations like this one. And we do workshops. So the teaching part of my job is workshops on healthy relationships, STIs, birth control, things like that. It varies, and it is pretty vast.
Yeah, pretty much. Though.
Wait, I think I see you guys from one of the workshops that I was doing right here in Youth. All
I'm
the time.
pretty sure our team has been here and has done some workshops here.
Yeah.
Shout out to the educators on our team.
Of course. Also, I was gonna ask you, and let's starting with like the questions itself, is like what you can tell us about bullying.
So bullying is just hurting someone with words or physical actions, causing another person injury or discomfort, gaining popularity by making jokes at someone else's expense. Basically not being nice to someone and making someone else uncomfortable.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Bullying isn't,
No, it's
bullying
actually-
isn't sweet at all. Yeah.
And it's a good definition, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't put it in better terms. Kaylee talked about how she was unaware that it was bullying at first. Is there any advice you could give to people or young adults especially to determine if they're being bullied by someone?
I guess the best line of questioning for yourself to determine if you are being bullied is, how do you feel when you are around these people? Are they making you happy? Or do they say things that put a smile on your face, or do they say things that make you uncomfortable? Or do they say things that hurt your feelings? That's probably the easiest way to put it. Like, are your feelings being hurt when you're around these people? That's the best way to ask yourself to find out if you're being bullied. And if the answer is negative and if you're not comfortable around these people, you're probably being bullied.
Yeah. And actually, it makes sense because, it's hard also to tell, like, and especially in the case that Kelly was explaining. Okay, what can you share to us, or in this case to the people, that can help them against bullying?
Help someone who is being bullied, or to
Yes.
help, I guess, if you want to help someone who is being bullied, say something. Bullies don't like it when you say something. If you can't necessarily say something to the bully at that point, you can cause a distraction. Best way is, oh, shoot, somebody's coming.
Yeah.
Silly, but
Yeah.
it'll
It
distract
does the
somebody.
job, yeah.
It'll distract somebody who is, causing somebody else harm. I heard something that made a lot of sense. It sucks that we have to go. These are the routes that we have to take nowadays. But someone said, in a bad situation where you need help, the best thing to yell is not help. It's World Star. It sounds funny and it's silly, but
Yeah, no.
people
No, and I
people
get
snap
it.
their neck at World Star.
No, because it's true.
No,
And now you have people that wouldn't have looked at help.
Was this one
But people will start looking, and the first thing that, before they even look, they're going to pull out their phones.
and start recording?
yeah, that's
So distract.
You know what? Whoever said that's pretty smart, because they're right. Because, like, anytime there's been a school fight, all I hear is World Star, and I'm like, so what's the reason?
yeah,
So drawing attention
Yeah.
can be done in multiple ways. You know what I mean?
of course. Yeah, also, Kaylee mentioned it. Also, another interesting theme. She talked about cyberbullying. What do you also can share us about that?
You have to navigate the internet differently than how people my age had to navigate the internet. Block and report is the best thing to do when you are online.
You can restrict people, too.
Why, when you can just block and report?
Oh, well, that's true. Unless it's a family member.
Yeah. All right, we can go there too.
I mean, it depends.
Why can't we block and report someone that is being mean?
You're right.
This is why it's important for us to see bullying for what it is. It doesn't matter where it's happening. It doesn't matter who's doing it. Bullying is bullying. It's hard to see it when it's in the house and it's in our families.
Yeah.
But bullying is bullying. Pay attention to how you feel when you are around someone. That's what tells you when you are uncomfortable or if you like how you feel. If you don't like how you feel when you are around someone,
Maybe step away.
your body and your mind is telling you that something is wrong here. You should probably ask yourself those questions that we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Why?
All right, Jason. Any other tips you can share with us?
Another thing that we offer at CHA is a mental health first aid training.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a program led by one of the sub-programs in community health. And we basically would teach you how to see and respond to someone who is having a breakdown or a crisis or something like that.
All right. Keep up the great work, Jason. Thank you so much. Shout out to CHA, sorry, for just being amazing, really giving people like the knowledge to understand the things around them. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. It was a pleasure. We'll be having the resources up. All right, we're back. We talked to Jason previously about bullying. Today we have, as promised, Charlie and Alex from Chelsea Rec. All right, will you guys introduce yourselves?
Thank you. Excited to be here. My name is Charlie Jafrida. I'm with Chelsea Recreation. My official title is the Director of Athletic Infrastructure and Sports Tourism. And I'm with my colleague Alex here, and I'd like to introduce him as well.
Hey everybody, my name is Alex Elvaya Montoya. I am a community recreation manager here for the city of Chelsea. I've been here for 4 years.
Alex and I are recreation professionals, and basically what that means is it's our job to make sure you have fun in the city of Chelsea, that there's always something to do. I had an old mentor who once told me, he said, your job is pretty simple. If people are not at work or not at school, you're there to make sure that they have something to do, whether you're facilitating it or to make sure that the open space or the park they're using is clean, up to standard, and has some amenities and fun stuff for them to use. It's a simple job, but it's essential. It's some of the most critical work. I look at us as we're part of the education team, we're part of the police force, we're part of the planning department, the public works. We work directly for the city manager. We do economic development, and we are just anything you can think of in Chelsea or any municipality, we have a hand in it one way or another.
All right, that's great to hear. I've definitely had some fun in the parks you guys manage. As for that, what's your favorite thing about Chelsea?
I've been a resident of Chelsea for a few years, and it's been nice because it's been stable. I'm from Brockton originally, but I lived in LA, I lived in Chicago, so I've kind of been all over the place. And Chelsea has been where I work, where I live. I ride my bike, I get my haircuts, I do food shopping. So it's real like a communal feel. And I see a lot of people, like I'll see a basketball coach out at a restaurant, and then it's like, oh, hey, what's up? But it's just like knowing people, it makes me feel good. And
You, Charlie.
I've been thinking about this, and I would say that my favorite thing about Chelsea is its history. The United States is, relatively speaking, a teenager on the world scene. But Chelsea's one of the oldest cities in our country, 400 years. We've seen American Revolution battles. We've welcomed wave after wave of new residents into this community, into Boston. You walk down the street and you see the cobblestones and the buildings from when there was, when the ferry arrived and the railroads connected the North Shore to Boston, and Chelsea boomed from a farming, sleepy little farming village to an industrial center, and you really get to. I mean, they film movies here. We average like 2 movies a year because of the where Winnisimmet and the end of Mary O'Malley Park, that area where there's you're seeing America in sort of a time capsule, and it's an incredible place to be.
Kaylee mentioned getting into sports and art helped her cope with bullying. Could you guys share any resources Chelsea has to offer?
So we have quite a few. We'll tackle it from 2 different angles. So first, we provide space for a lot of leagues who want to use Highland Park or one of the gyms at the Williams or the Clark. We help facilitate to make sure that they have space. And all these leagues take care of Chelsea residents. They have over half the rosters have Chelsea kids in it. Some even have like 80 or 90. So we prefer the groups that take care of the Chelsea kids. And that's coming from like a very big soccer leagues. There's like 3 of them here. We have Chelsea Youth Basketball League. We have Mass Warriors. That's like basketball. We're bringing back lacrosse in the future. Baseball starting back up. We got 2 football leagues. So there's a lot of different leagues to join, and some of them just practice, and then others play different stuff that we're offering.
Well, that's great to hear, though.
So I'm in my 8th or 9th month, and the city manager, Fidel Martels, and I, we are hyper-focused on expanding programming options. We've gotten through our first school year, and we've introduced some new programs like girls volleyball. We're going to launch a street hockey league. We have Friday night programs that we're testing out. But for next school year, we're looking at a new flag football intramural program during the summer from 2 to 4 p.m. in Highland Park on Thursdays, on Wednesdays, a intramural soccer program from 2 to 4 p.m. in Highland Park, also free. We are hopefully launching a girls' summer basketball league. We're working with the middle schools on that, the middle school coach, I should say. We are taking over T-ball to help out Chelsea Pride, youth baseball and softball, to make sure that program, it's return. Baseball's coming back, and we're trying to make it as easy a lift as possible for the board of directors.
Sounds like there's a lot in the works. Sounds great.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Excited
programs.
to see what happens.
That actually answer 2 of the questions I was gonna ask you guys, because some of the programs, most of my questions focus on the free recreational programs that you guys offer. I know you guys mentioned some of them, but besides sports, is any other program that can help the youth people, with any recreation activity?
Yeah, so right now we're in a great time of expansion. With Charlie here, he gives us a lot of leeway to do a lot of different things. Like he was saying earlier, we have a hand in everything. So it's really cool to be able to expand our programming and what we offer, especially at low cost. We have everything low cost. If it's not free, then I think the most expensive is like $50 for ice skating. But we have ice skating, we'll have music classes. We're trying to tap into adaptive programming right now. So we offered beat making classes in the past for high school students. Hopefully we could bring that back soon, because I know that's a big interest for a lot of kids. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about such great resources, how can people reach out if they have any questions or get in contact with these resources?
Yeah, so our main number, can I just say it? Okay. Our main number is 617-466-5233. They can call that. Basically, if anything, you can call that number, leave a message. But we're at the Williams all the time. That's the middle school. It's the Brown and the Wright. We're there every day after 4 p.m. So if anyone has any questions, has any suggestions, has any concerns, they can always go to the Williams, talk to somebody there. The face-to-face is always better.
Anything else that you guys would like to mention it before?
For me, this is something I probably share with a lot of the youth that I work with and talk to. Decisions are made by those who show up. Participate in government. The squeaky wheel gets the grease all day, every day in government. So contact us. Attend your local government meetings. Don't be afraid to write the city manager.
I'd love to echo what he was saying, because I think it's really important. I challenge everybody, like what he was saying, make sure your voices are heard, even as a youth. what you have to say is very powerful. So don't let that stop.
It's kind of like the Chelsea power or something like that. You guys trying to mention it?
Yeah,
I like
keep
that. I
it
like
going.
that.
Well, thank you so much. I guess that wraps it up. Thank you for your time. It was great hearing it. I'm very glad I even got insight on resources. You know, now that I'm bored and I need to do something, I can just ask what's available. And if you're bored and you're in Chelsea, well, now you got resources. You can't be doing nothing at home. But yeah, thank you for watching today's episode at Chelsea Speaks, and we'll see you next time.